Hi everybody, it's Adrian. Hope you're all doing great. And I'm quite excited today to be speaking to Michael Edward Bradford, who's based in South Africa for the first time to share his knowledge with us. And Michael, first of all, I'd like to know, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for visiting. It means a lot, and thanks for chatting to me. So fantastic. Before we get into what Michael does, I just want to show you his books that he's got at the moment. First one that came out, The Healing Energy of Your Hands. And then we also have Mastering the Human Experience. And then I believe you've got another one coming out, right?
I have another one coming out on intuition, and I'm hoping for that to be out the end of this year or beginning of the next year.
Okay.
And that one's on intuition.
It's a lot of work, I know. So tell me, I know that you do Reiki, you do hypnosis, you do NLP. What else do you do?
Well, actually, I don't do any of them.
You don't do any of them?
No.
Oh.
I have training. I've been using NLP since 1983, hypnosis since 1973. I've studied many, many different forms of healing. But what's happened, Adrian, is I've transcended them all.
Okay.
And working with Native American medicine people, Canadian medicine people, Eskimo shamans, Peruvian shamans, the psychic surgeons from the Philippines, the Maoris in New Zealand, traveling all over the world, looking at different modalities. What's happened is they've all come together and synthesized, and out of it came a new process. And basically, I am just a receiver, a mouthpiece for spirit. So I'm a resource for the source, following spirit, listening. And when someone comes to me, rather than using a modality, I just ask, how may I honor this person? How may I serve this person? What is the single most important thing that I can say or do to help the person to release their pain and accept their perfection?
So everything you do is very intuitive, right?
Extremely.
Okay. So now that makes perfect sense to me, and to some people looking that will make perfect sense as well. But to somebody who's maybe not that spiritually inclined or doesn't really know that much about the spiritual way of doing things, how would you explain to them in very simple terms what it is that you actually do? How can you help them?
Well, I think the best way to explain is that I'm an empath.
Okay.
I feel, I sense. So in the past, and this is why I got into NLP and a lot of the other things, in the past I would blend energy with people and I would feel the pain, I'd see things, feel things, and I'd be in pain. And I'd cry or I'd have all these emotions. And what I had to learn to do was to back out so that I didn't get too triggered. And I was more able to help the people by being the observer and helping the people through their process. The best way that I can explain it is that everything is energy. Everything is interconnected. And I mean, we feel the astrological shifts. I know a lot of us have been feeling an urgency to get things done, to do things.
Feeling that.
We've been. I woke up the other day crying. It's like, what am I crying? I was feeling the energy of the planet or the astrological shifts. Went up to Table Mountain, and my heart started palpitating. So whether we're aware of it or not, everything is interconnected, and quantum physics, however you want to describe it. And I'm getting guidance to say something different. We've all heard of Hippocrates. And when he was working with medicine, when he was doing healing work, he did dream therapy, he did herbs, he did sleep, he did massage. He incorporated all of these things. And when you have people that are very psychic, intuitive, very aware, very sensitive, they're also picking up other levels of what's going on. When I've been doing healing work or someone comes to me and they say, well, I have cancer, diabetes, allergies, hep C, that kind of things, I look and go, okay, when did their body shut down or when did it start? And then I'll get a picture or a feeling, and then I'll talk to the person about it, and a lot of times the energy will shift almost instantaneously.
Because I think something that or the way that I normally do things is that whatever you have, be it a lack, be it an illness, be it whatever you have, at some point or the other that had to start. So, and I
Absolutely.
believe that you work the same way because you say you go to the core.
Absolutely. See, part of the issue for many people is they do not have sight.
Yeah.
They're not intuitively seeing the way I see.
Mhm.
Okay, so many people have to work through the layers of the onion to get to the core issue.
Mhm.
Or if you look at a weed, you know, people cut it off at the top or in the middle or at the ground. They say, "Oh, the weed's gone," or it's in remission, and I'm going,
But it's actually kind of still there.
right,
Yeah.
because they didn't get the taproot.
Mhm.
And whatever the gift I have, and it's a double-edged sword because it also, you know, anyway, I can see that almost instantaneously. What is the single core issue that shifted, that threw the body out of balance?
Mhm.
And whether it's cancer, diabetes, allergies, hep C, whatever it is that goes on, whatever the issue is, it depends on where their body is weak, what their lineage is,
Mhm.
their family lineage, and where the weakness is in that also depends on karma and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So just tuning in, and I've worked with past life regression. I've met people, some the people I enjoyed the most were not the people that had a lot of degrees.
Mhm.
They were the people who spirit came to them. They opened up. One of the women I met, she could look at a person, she could see each of the chakras, she could see them spinning, and could see the past lives in each ones that were blocking.
That's interesting.
So the privilege I've had is in traveling all around the world, meeting with all these different people, seeing all these different approaches to healing, and then just sitting back and having it mix and then come into a whole nother frequency and vibration. One of the things I want to really make clear, I never went to be a healer.
Yeah.
I want to stop my own pain, okay? Because I was very traumatized. My father tried to kill me from the minute he found out my mother was pregnant.
Okay.
So I had a lot of trauma in the womb. I had a lot of trauma birth, early childhood, and I was so nervous, so insecure, and I wanted to stop my pain. That's what put me on the path.
Tell me something, please, because I know that a lot of people who do practice spiritual work, they might be very interested in it, they're very fascinated, they're actually very passionate about doing it. But, I mean, you've been in the field a lot longer than me, so...
I'm 75 years old. I hope I've been longer than you have.
I'm 37. I think actually, yeah, I was born in 1982, I'm 37, so I can learn a lot from you. But, you know, a lot of times there's fear around, like, I would like to, for example, go for a Reiki session, or let's just call it the energy healing session, or I'd like to do some stuff with crystals. But there's a little bit of uncertainty going around, you know, what if I invite in the dark forces, or the devil, or anything like that. If somebody has those sort of concerns, what did you say to them?
Everything is a balance between light and dark.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a process. Everything is learning. If you go with good intentions, you're more likely to stay clear.
Okay.
One of the books I want to write, and I'm looking for people to help me with it, is on the processes of keeping yourself clear. And there's many good processes to do that.
Yeah, you're not protecting your energy field, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I don't actually protect my energy field
Okay.
because I believe if you put up protection,
Mhm.
you're actually saying that I expect an attack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's a good point. I never thought about it like that.
So I'm going to give you another model. Okay, I do my best to stay connected to spirit, my
Yeah.
guides and teachers, keep that channel clear, and to stay grounded, stay in my physical body.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've worked with over 20,000 clients all over the world, all races, nationalities. I've worked in the Middle East, in Kuwait, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, with strict Muslim women doctors in burqas. I've worked with many, many different people and cultures. I've only found 5 people on the planet so far that I've worked with that were more than 30% energetically present in their physical bodies. So we as humans, when we are traumatized in the womb, at birth, early child, what happens, we split off, we disassociate, and that leaves us unstable and open. So if we're not in our body, what's in there? Who's in there? What's going on?
So it's almost like you're trying to clear that particular void.
Protect. So what I'm doing is helping people to have the courage to come back into themselves, face whatever the trauma, whatever the pain is, whatever the decisions they made about life and living. See, what's interesting is I've never met anyone who told me their story that the story itself gave me anything to work with. All I'm looking at is what is the decision they made about life and living. I can't trust men, I can't trust women, I'm not safe, I'm not enough. And then what that happens is they start shrinking.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, there's something that you said, and I really, really, really love this. And I think this is the kind of thing that made me think I really want to speak to him. You say that you start every day out, I think, wishing or asking for a miracle.
Yes, I do.
I love that. But then what I wanted to ask is that you were, it was quite funny, you were on this podium, and it was St. Patrick's that you're wearing a green hat. And you're saying, I started every day asking for a miracle, and will you be my miracle? So when you say that to a crowd, what do you mean when you say that to people?
Adrian, we are trained, we are conditioned on planet Earth to give, sacrifice ourselves, not be abundant, but to help everybody else, to give the money to the religious organization, the church, whatever it may be. But we're not taught how to take care of ourselves. And part of my teaching is, if you're not healthy, whole, and complete, how can you give to someone else?
That's a very good point.
The other thing for me is rather, and because I was in a dysfunctional family, I wanted to control what was going on out there. I wanted to fix everything. After I fixed everything, then I could be safe.
But everything is never really fixed.
Precisely. Okay, everything's constantly chaos. So what I've learned is center in myself, do my best to love, honor, respect, and support myself, and to hold the frequency for whoever I'm supporting, to call them into alignment, to see their perfection, and that helps them to forgive themselves, have compassion, learn to love and accept themselves. So I'm going to say it a different way.
Okay.
When I look at you or any client I'm working at, I don't see cancer, diabetes, pain, suffering. I don't see that. I'm actually giving a talk about that, and I have an 11-page handout. And for anyone listening that contacts me, I'm willing to send you a free copy of it. However, what I'm talking about is, when I'm working with you, I see wholeness, purity, God, spirit.
I love that.
Okay, so you may be in severe pain or suffering or have a life-threatening illness or a business challenge. And by the way, I work with corporations also. I can see the corporation the same way I see an individual.
Yeah, because it's all
It's
one
all
big
the
energy.
same. And entrepreneurs too. So by me holding that frequency and vibration, I'm calling you into alignment with yourself. So in other words, maybe there's something in your unconscious that you've never forgiven yourself for. And it might have been a feather dropping. For other people, we forgive them easily.
Yeah.
For ourselves, forget it. Okay,
Very
so
hard on yourself.
very hard on ourselves. Okay. But when a person like myself is holding that energy of love, compassion, forgiveness for whoever I'm talking to or an audience, the energy starts shifting. The other thing is, like I said before, I am a resource for the source.
I love that. You're like, I'm the big mouth.
I asked Spirit, I said, why did you choose me? They said, because you got a big mouth. And whatever we say to you, you're going to repeat. And my agreement with Spirit is I don't edit it. I don't water it down. I give it full strength. And I do my best to be compassionate. However, when Spirit is guiding me and they say, Michael, say this, a lot of times it's like pressing a release button.
Yeah.
And I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle happen.
What is some of the, you obviously had a lot, but what is something distinctively that maybe stands out?
Well, I have over 500 stories, so we're going to be here a long time.
I think something that everybody can relate to, because I think what happens a lot is that the way that we condition, we think that things have to take long. So for example, you'll say, I'm going to go to this energy healer, spiritual person, whatever, but I expect it to take, 10 months. Whereas I feel that the moment you kind of get you kind of get to the core, once you get that sorted out, it can be instantaneous just like that.
Okay. I'm as you're talking, I'm looking and having a conversation with them upstairs, okay?
And what are they saying?
Well, here's what they're saying.
Sorry, for everybody who doesn't know what they are, that'll be your spiritual team that you are
Right, thank
connected.
you. Thank you. There's two ways I'm going to answer that.
Okay.
If you stick a pin in a balloon, what happens?
It's probably going to burst.
Right. Put it back together again. It's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on one level, if you can tune in to that exact core issue that's blocked and release it, the energy can flow.
Yeah.
However, what they're also telling me is if you're breathing, you're still in process.
Yeah.
So in other words, when we come to Earth, in my book, Mastering the Human Experience, that's what I go into, is when you're coming into Earth, you're coming in to learn, change, grow, evolve, challenge yourself, test yourself. How much can you do? What do you want to do? How are you going to interact? How much love are you going to be willing to receive? Mm-hmm. And part of it is about loving others, but the majority of it is how much self-love. Right. So part of it is you work with different issues, but there's always other issues that come up in other areas where you're testing yourself. So you may work, or someone comes to me for one issue, and we may or may not work on that issue. Spirit may tell me, there's another issue that's way more important, and this one is just what got you into the office.
And it can be very persistent sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then just ask, what is it that what is the single most important thing that I can do to help this person? Mm-hmm. Now, once we work with that and the energy clears, then they can come back later on looking at other things. And what's interesting is an entrepreneur may come in looking at one area of their life or their business, and something from their childhood may shift, and then all of a sudden their business becomes much more profitable.
Because you
and
have
easy.
no idea what's actually blocking you.
It's almost, I'm not going to say it's almost impossible to know exactly what's blocking. And for me, like I said, I just sit with a person, I become empty, and I ask, how may I serve this person? What is the single most important thing that I can say or do to help them with? The good news is I can work very quickly. The bad news is the client only needs to see me once or twice.
But I think the magic thing about that is that when somebody gets help, and it only takes 1 or 2 sessions, it's fantastic, because you don't actually have to tell anybody else that your life has changed, because they would see it. And a very simple example, in my own life, I've been doing everything else that I'm doing, like Reiki and my crystals and all my stuff that I love. And then my best friend told me she's going to go for one of these regression hypnosis sessions. And I told her straight out, I'm telling you, this is rubbish. These people are taking your money. This is absolute nonsense. That's not going to work. But she still went, because she's stubborn as I am. But anyway, so in the space of about 2 months, her life just changed so much that I think when you work from the point of integrity, that it's impossible for other people not to notice. And that's how you heal everything.
Right. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How many different types of restaurants are there?
Technically, really only one. Because all you want is to have food and to feel good.
You've got Italian, you've got Chinese,
okay.
you've got all these different restaurants.
Yeah.
Some people like Chinese, other people like Italian, other people like something else.
I love everything.
Well, me too. I'm on a seafood diet. When I see food, I eat it. Anyway, but Adrian, my point is, for one person, hypnosis may not work.
Exactly.
But other flower essences may work.
Yes.
For other, massage may work. For other people, straight counseling and therapy may work. Whatever they're doing, God bless them for doing it and taking some forward action. Then they have choices. Look, I don't consider myself that smart, okay? I've got the education, I've got the experience. I don't consider myself that smart. But what I learned a long time ago, if I hear someone's name 3 different times from 3 different sources, I pay attention. That's my caveat.
There's the thing with science, you won't miss them. Okay. People's like, whatever I miss them, you won't miss them.
So when that message comes, I want to go to that person and listen. Then I feel, is it right for me or not? Now here's the interesting part. If there's heart palpitations and you're scared, what does that mean? Does that mean that person's not right for you, or does that mean there's something inside of you blocking you that doesn't want to let go of sabotaging you? So that's the big key, is to know and how to interpret what you're feeling emotionally. A lot of times when someone starts feeling the angst, the shaking, it's because they could make a breakthrough with that person.
Okay.
And that there's other energies that want to control them and keep them pushed down.
So they're basically starting to pick up on their blockages. That's very interesting. All right, so tell me, something that I've had, and this is kind of how I approach things, is that I kind of believe that before you're born, you've got some kind of soul plan, life plan. There's some kind of plan going on. You can call it whatever you want to call it. People call it very fancy names. So for me, this is what worked best for me. What I would do is, instead of trying to fix this and fix that and fix that and fix that, what I would do is I would say, let's work at trying to get you in alignment with a perfect plan that's already there. Whether it is something that you might currently consider or not. And for me, the best way to get you to get into alignment is to work on loving and accepting yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, I kind of find that to be the easiest way. Even though obviously loving yourself is not always that easy. It's an ongoing thing.
Okay. Actually, you're tying right in with my book, Mastering the Human Experience, because after working with 20,000 clients, what I realized, a lot of people didn't have the basics. So I wrote the book to explain what happens when you're in spirit before you come into Earth. Why did you choose Earth? There's thousands, millions of schoolhouses all over the universe. Earth is where the masters come to test themselves. It's not kindergarten. A lot of people say, oh, you're in kindergarten. This is where the masters come to test themselves, because this is a planet of polarities, good, bad, right, wrong, different races, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's all polarities. So we get a chance to work things through, where on other planets you just think something, it's created, there's no work involved.
Yeah.
So, and there, you don't have a human body. So here on Earth, the energy is very slow. And it's, people want to go, well, why can't I manifest instantly? I want a partner, I want money, I want this, and I want that. And it's like, they want to know why they can't do it instantly. Well, the energy on Earth is a very slow energy compared to the rest of the places in the universe. So I agree with you about loving yourself, but we've also set up, and again, it's in the book, we also meet with our guides and teachers ahead of time. These are different ones than we have when we're incarnating. And we choose saying, okay, this is what I want to learn this lifetime. We look at the cosmic report card. The cosmic report card says, where do we do good? Where do we screw up? What do we need to learn? Where's our most growth? And you can learn by going slowly, or you can choose a very fast growth rate. People that were involved in severe trauma, a very abusive family, alcohol, drug abuse, all that kind, any heavy trauma, those are advanced souls that wanted to either be a role model or stop the abuse in their family, or they're a very enlightened being that are willing to take on that heavy karma. So we choose what we want to learn on Earth. Then we come in, okay, boop, conception. Were people conceived in love where they wanted? Or was it an accident? Was it anger? What's that energy? That's what launches them onto planet Earth. Then you're in the womb, and when you're in the womb, if a person is, the family is happy and everything else, then, you know, it's an easy time in the womb. Others, there's violence, there's not enough food, there's war or whatever's going on, so the child is traumatized actually in the womb. Some of the healers actually become healers in the womb because they start stabilizing their mother, and when the embryo is attached to the wall of the uterus, the embryo doesn't know the difference between itself and its mother.
Yeah.
So what happens is, it wants to stay alive, okay? So in order to stay alive, it starts absorbing the pain and suffering of the mother. That child, that embryo is learning to be a healer right then and there. Okay, and it's called a prenatal healer. It's actually in the book. So that's part of why a number of people become healers. And then you've got the birth. Do people come in early? Do they come in on time? Or do they come in late? Are they in resistance? Okay, and that's a whole nother pattern. Then you got from 0 to age 7, where people children are like sponges.
Mm-hmm.
They learn very quickly, but they also absorb all the pain and suffering in the family.
They're a little bit like crystals.
Correct. Correct. So a lot of that is covered in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got different kinds of lifetimes. Some people in a mastery lifetime, they're really good at what they do. I mean, it's almost effortlessly, whether it's painting, music, healing. They're in a mastery lifetime where they've done it so many lifetimes, it's almost second nature to them.
Actually, when I was young, I used to hate those people. I didn't dislike them, I hated them.
Why?
I think when I sometimes say this to people, I think some people might think that it's a little bit wacky, but I remember being born. And when I say remember being born, I remember the experience of coming in. Because just at that little last bit of where I was supposed to be born, I think for about 20 seconds or something like that, I was dead. And I decided I'm not going to come, but then okay, I'm going to come. And I can still be very indecisive sometimes. But I always felt that a lot of people knew exactly what they want to do with their life. Or they got into a family and they said, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do that. And they were very structured. I had no idea. And I think I used to really hate the fact that some people did know and I didn't know. But also, it takes you on different paths. And I don't hate it anymore. I think it's the greatest blessing now, because not knowing has actually led me to a lot of things that being told where to go would have probably diverted me from.
Precisely. And for me, growing up, I wanted to be a medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted to help people. I wanted to stop people's pain. I didn't have the money. I started chemical engineering for pre-med, kept dropping out of school because I didn't have any money to pay for it. My father wouldn't help me. And then I wound up getting a business degree and business math and economics. And then I went back later on and got a master's degree in international management,
Mm-hmm.
majoring in Japanese studies. Now,
What is Japanese studies?
because the guy that ran that department was a really great guy, and it was
Mhm.
something different.
Okay.
He also liked to give a lot of A's too.
All right. Okay.
But he was a great guy. He didn't, you'd go into his class and he'd say, did you buy the book? And
Mhm.
he'd go, yep. He says, now put it aside, we're going to talk about the real world. And he was born and raised in Japan. I'll remember his name in a minute. But he was a sweetheart of a guy, gentle soul, no BS. I've been very lucky. All of my professors in college owned their own businesses. They weren't, people that were just teaching out of a book. They were real life. And anyway, I'm getting a little emotional remembering back
okay.
then. So for me, I wanted to be a doctor. Then I went into the business. I ran companies, corporations, worked as a lead consultant for the state of Oregon Small Business Development Center. Then all of a sudden, and I had my own oil drilling exploration company, book publishing and distribution company, da-da-da-da-da. Anyway,
It's quite fascinating that does though.
It is, and what's interesting, in high school, I had 30 different interests. I wanted to build model airplanes. I wanted to build model boats. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And then later on, once the spiritual aspect grabbed hold, it was like, oh, isn't it interesting? Because all those things allowed me, they provided the foundation for me to help other people. Go ahead. I'll let you lead.
No, it's okay. There's something that a lot of people have, especially these days. They are, I suppose they feel almost cursed, like life is not working out. And they're like, what am I doing wrong, or what am I missing? What did you say to people like that?
You're normal.
You're normal. You're right on point.
Right. See, I have two arrows that I use when I teach.
Okay.
And one arrow is spirit, and the other arrow represents ego and personality.
Mm-hmm.
And when the ego and personality wants to do one thing and the soul wants to do another thing, you're locked up.
Yeah.
And as we start shifting, aligning our ego and personality with our soul purpose, and that's the whole thing we're talking about here. What is the soul purpose for being on earth? What did you come here for?
I like that. Something that I say to people a lot is that, you live in, I suppose, what you would call not being spiritually awakened. And then you suddenly awaken, or, get interested in these things. And everybody always want to just open their third eyes and connect to the angels and do all this sort of stuff. But then I find that most of your unhappiness and your frustration and your discontent or whatever you get comes from wanting to be there when you don't realize that you're actually a soul and you was having a human being experience that you chose. And when you kind of just do that, somehow all the other things just automatically happen in any case.
I'll share with you something I learned that was very interesting. A lot of the religions, or a lot of people around the earth, want nirvana. They want to be spiritual. They want to connect. They want to go up.
Or reach a destination.
Right. Excuse me, that's where we came from. We came from there to here to have a human experience. If when I was with the Maoris in New Zealand and the Hawaiians, the kahunas, they want to get down in their physical bodies and have a human experience.
Because life is so short. And even if you live to be 80 or 90, technically it's still very, very short. Because if you look back 10 years ago, half the time you slept, and then you did other life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in 10 years, you'll probably get about 2-3 years out of it if you're lucky to do other stuff.
Okay, I want to switch because I'm going to tie in what you're saying.
Okay. By the way, you don't have to agree with me. There's my way of looking at it.
Is it okay if I agree with you though?
It is. It totally is.
Okay. Your ego and personality, not yours, a person's ego and personality,
in general, okay,
wants to be safe, look good, be right, have material wealth, be comfortable. That's what the ego wants. Look at me, I'm special, I'm unique. The soul just wants you to learn. It doesn't care what kind of car you drive, doesn't care what kind of clothes you're wearing. The soul is saying, risk, learn, change, grow. That is what you take with you when you pass on. You're not going to take any of the material things with you. But as your soul evolves, as you invest in yourself, that's what's going to pay the biggest dividends.
Exactly.
And whether people know it or not, everyone's spiritual.
You're just not aware of it.
I was told that the people, AA, NA, people that have dealt with severe physical, sexual abuse, any kind of abuse, those are a lot of times master souls that have come in to either shift the karma of the planet or the family, and only an advanced soul would take on that type of challenge.
And what would you call an advanced soul?
You've got new souls that are just learning and evolving, and then you get people that have been on the journey for a long time. Okay, I'm going to use myself for an experience. There's people I've met. Okay, there's people I've met. They don't understand social interaction very much. They don't understand responsibility. It's like it's totally foreign to them. There's other people that are over on a master level or mastership. They've been around the planet a long time. I've been told I've been around about 50,000 years. So, you can call me an old soul, or jokingly, you can call me a slow learner.
You're a regular.
Or I'm a slow learner, that's what it is, okay? But you build on your learning. You build on your awareness till you get to a place. It's like a musician. You can see some people are just learning. Then you see other people, they're not playing the music. They are the music.
Yeah.
Okay. When there's that connection with the music, with the dancing, with the driving a car, a race car, whatever it is, it's a whole nother level. It's actually poetry in motion. Okay. One of my favorite poets, Khalil Gibran, the prophet. Okay. You read poetry, Rumi. You read poetry and you melt. These are people on a master level. Shakespeare. They've done it. Beethoven. Other people, Hippocrates. People have done it lifetime after lifetime, practicing, honing their trade. And that's what I've been doing for many lifetimes.
And I think also sometimes instead of, there is the belief that every single time you come into life, you come to learn. But do you think that sometimes you come in to just help and to just teach and to just support, let me go support my amigos down there because they're just not getting it?
Right. I've been told that I'm part of a vanguard team coming down to earth, working with the Yeshua group. And what I was told is I'm here to find out what the planet needs so I can report back to my group. They can integrate into their teachings and come back a little later. But there's many different groups here on Earth from all over the universe. And they're coming here to learn, they're coming here to help, they're coming here to explore, going, okay, if we introduce this, how are they going to deal with it? If we introduce this idea, how are they going to deal with it? I mean, we could have used atomic power just for helping people and giving free power to the whole world. Are we going to use it to help people, or are we going to use it for destruction? In my time with the Native Americans, after my vision quest, I went on a walkabout and went to a place called Bear Butte, where a lot of the Native Americans went to vision quest. And this is, a butte is like Table Mountain, okay? But where this is, there's nothing around for hundreds and hundreds of miles. It's the only, like Table Mountain, the only flat top butte anywhere around. And the Native Americans used to go up there to vision quest. They'd stay with no food, no water for 4 days praying. Okay.
I'm definitely not there yet, but okay.
Okay. And when I walked up to the top, as I was walking up to the top, my friend said, Michael, ask if Crazy Horse Monument, they were carving a mountain, is good or bad. And as I was climbing up the mountain, what I heard very clearly is nothing is good or bad. A knife isn't good or bad. A gun isn't good or bad. A pencil isn't good or bad. It's the way you use it.
It's kind of like experience in motion.
Precisely.
Tell me, when you went to Table Mountain for the first time, I think the first time I went there was, I can't remember, probably about 2 years ago, in all my years in Cape Town. And what was the experience like for you when you first went up there?
Well, I'm scared because I don't like to get near the edge.
You don't like that?
No.
Okay.
I've jumped to my death too many lifetimes, and Spirit put in a little protector that says, Michael, you cannot get anywhere near the edge. So the first thing was conquering my concern about getting on the cable car. I walked around Table Mountain and my heart fluttered. I hear energy. Some people see it, some people smell it, some people taste it. Everyone senses energy differently. For me, one of the ways is hearing energy, and I could hear the frequency shift. I also had some heart palpitations. I needed to walk. I didn't need to stay in one place. I needed to walk. And I loved it. And so far, I've only been here in the Cape Town area.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to get out. I want to get to the game parks. I want to go to the animal rescue centers and do some healing on the animals and connect that way. For me, being on the land is so important. My soul, I've been told, is a combination of Native American and extraterrestrial. So for me, the indigenous people, the native people, to me, I have tremendous connection to them. To me, that is the true religion.
Yeah.
Being one with the land, being one with the animals, being one with nature. I don't consider ourselves to be the top superior. I believe that the plants and animals, we are all one. And the Native Americans, we use the word Omnitaquiasin, or all my relations. And like I said, I've been with a lot of the indigenous tribes. When I was in New Zealand, I had something very strange happen. There was a woman there, and I call her a hippie chick. And I say that affectionately. She's a very, very nice person, but she was like a hippie girl.
I'm a bit of a hippie.
Okay, anyway.
If the bus is coming, I'm the first person on it.
Okay, so she worked with flower essences and herbs and different plant connections, and my guidance was to get that. So I got a whole series from her, and then I ran out and I needed to get some more. And I went to see her, and she went out to the van. She had a Volkswagen van to go get them, and I was standing there watching her as she was going through, and she said, "Michael, the kawa plant likes you. It's standing alongside of you." And then all of a sudden, boom, it jumped into my body.
Yeah.
And the kawa plant the Maoris use that as the main medicinal plant, and it's shaped like a heart. And it's a great honor to work with the different plants, the animals, the energies, and my purpose, my soul purpose, SOUL and SOLE, is to help as many people
The
as
sole purpose of your soul. What I wanted to ask you is, I remember you said something that when your body gets tired, if I remember correctly, your body gets tired or your soul gets tired, that's kind of when you go on to the next step. And it seems to be a bit of a pattern with people, is that either trauma will push them somewhere. It's almost like you get tired of your stuff. I don't know if I'm explaining correctly. A lot of people, I find that before they maybe get into the point where they're going to would you say like a spiritual enlightenment or awakening or whatever, there's usually something that pushes them towards it, something major, or they just get tired of the way things are.
Let me see if I'm interpreting what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of what happens for people that have a health issue or any kind of issue in their life, they can't get answers from the medical profession, from the whatever it is, where they're going, they're not getting answers. Then people have a tendency to be more open to go for spiritual guidance, a tarot card reading or a psychic or someone else, or, especially if it's a loved one, or their cat or their dog or something, not for themselves necessarily, they will bring it and seek guidance from a more spiritual opening. But a lot of times people won't do that unless they've totally exhausted the traditional way. Now, the book I'm writing on intuition talks about every religion, every indigenous tribe on the planet relied on seers, prophets, and healers. That was their scientists, their medical department, etc. But then it changed around the Council of 325 with Constantine.
Yeah, Constantine did a lot of his stuff.
Right. You had Constantine, then you had the Middle Ages, then you had the Black Plague, and that changed the way people saw healers. And for me, the people that are connected to the land, the plants, the animals, the spirit, to knowing that it's all one, it's all quantum physics. You can't separate any of it out.
This is something for me about religion that a lot of people have, since you mentioned religion. And people's like, you should never talk about religion. I'm like, I will talk about whatever I want to talk about. This is how I am.
That's fine.
But anyway,
I'm with you.
So you get a lot of different religions in the world, and this one is right. In order for you to be right, everybody else needs to be wrong. But when you really think about it, you break down all the other stuff around it. Most religions basically tell you you've got to be a nice person, honor yourself, be cool, don't be horrible. Like they all kind of say the same thing to you.
Well, I'm going to give you a different interpretation.
Or,
And I'm going to agree with you at the same time. One of the hardest books that I ever read was a book called The Insights for the Age of Aquarius by Gina Cerminara. Now, Gina Cerminara was a researcher, writer, and she went to dispute Edgar Cayce and wound up becoming one of his biggest fans. And I live right now, well, when I live in the United States, I live a block away from the Edgar Cayce Center. But she also wrote a book on religion that I hated. I mean, after I read the first 50 pages, I was enraged and put the foot down. No, I don't want to look at this book. But what it talks about...
But where were you at this point in time, like in your own psyche? What was your opinion about religion at the time?
For me, with religion, I flow with... Because I've traveled all over the world. I've been in Muslim countries, working with all the different countries. So for me, I'm not attached to whatever a person's religion is, as long as they don't want to kill everybody from a different religion. Okay.
It's just a little silly.
Well, yeah, I love for me, if someone said, Michael, which path do you follow? I love Buddhism, which is the middle road, moderation. I love the indigenous tribes, Native American, where they're honoring the plants, the animals, all that is. It's an interconnectedness. But in the book, The Insights for the Aquarius, what it talks about, it's written as if three space beings are coming from outer space going, wait a minute, what is religion?
What's happening
What's happening down here on Earth?
What are you all doing?
And she analyzes it perfectly.
Okay.
Absolutely perfectly. First of all, I don't know of one person, whether it's Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever, that they wanted to start a religion. But it's the people after them that wanted to start the religion. But they didn't have the wisdom of the person that was doing the teaching. And then other people below them started interpreting. Then other people wanted to make it so that...
And let's not forget that ego was also there.
Oh, yes. And ego and control. Because in the past, the feminine was in charge. And they wanted to shift it to the masculine being in charge. Then they wanted to shift it to men being more powerful and above animals and the wind and nature. So everything was changed. And that book, reading that book, pissed me off. Pissed me off so bad. But after I got over myself, I read the book and said, absolutely, it's a fantastic book.
But what's so amazing? Like, I've always been connected to whatever, angels and all these other spiritual beings and what. But anyway, so this one day I became connected. It was the first time, and I didn't expect it, to, I suppose, what we call the Ascended Masters. And I was like, yeah, today, because you always learn so much or get told things that you didn't know before. And so I got there and it's like, so what are you guys going to teach me? And they're like, it's all just about love. And I'm like, okay, great, fantastic. And what else? And they're like, well, that's it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I expected so much more.
Okay. I'm going to give you a little twist on that. Okay? Love is overrated. And I'll tell you why. Because some people believe in mushy love. Smothering love.
I need you to complete me.
I need you to complete me. The love they're giving does not honor and respect the other person. It doesn't hold them accountable. So, just saying, love everybody, give everything you have away to everybody, that's not being self-responsible.
Because things are not going to be so cool. You're not going to remain in that space of love because you're going to experience lack and need and frustration.
Look, here's what I've learned, okay? First of all, I don't drive a fancy car. I don't live in a fancy home. I don't have fancy, expensive clothes. I don't care. people either accept me for who I am or not. I have clothes that I wear like a costume to go on stage. If I'm going to be on stage, I have to wear good clothes that represent and fit in with the people I'm working with. However, with Gandhi and other people, they didn't even, they were dressed very plainly. Okay. I'll go back. It's the energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the energy of love, compassion, support, but it's also saying be self-responsible.
Yeah.
Have integrity. Make sure, I don't want to say that you're the role model. There are times when I give things to people. Usually, they don't need it, or I'm challenging them to go to another level within themselves or within their self-acceptance, self-compassion. There's other people I say, you're being too kind, too caring, too loving, too nurturing, and you've got to set some boundaries because the other person's not learning.
Exactly.
Okay, so when I hear people talk, oh, it's all about love, I react a little bit because for me, it's about self-responsibility, self-discipline. It's about right action.
So we're going to keep on carrying a baby, they're never going to learn to walk.
Thank you. And thank you for saying that. My first counselor and therapist, Jay Essinger, he's on the other side. Bless you, Jay, for what you taught me. Jay said to me, he sat me down one day in 1977. He said, Michael, you take care of people so well, you protect them so much, they never have to grow up. They never have to take any responsibility. You're making them into a cripple.
And in fact, you're debilitating them.
It's what he said. You're making them into a cripple. So now I've learned over time to stop doing that. And it's been a challenge because of my childhood trauma. I don't want anyone else to suffer. When they're in pain, it triggers.
But maybe they need to.
Precisely.
What I want to ask you though is, so it's your first time in South Africa?
Yes.
And what specifically made you decide to come to South Africa at this point in time? What do you want to tell us?
First of all, I've been to, like I said, 55 countries, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Egypt a couple of times. Very deep connection with Egypt, Israel, the Middle East. But I've never been to Africa proper. I've always wanted to go to the game parks. I've always wanted to connect with the land. I've had past lives here. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an opportunity. I was invited to come, and I knew it felt right. The other thing for me with South Africa, especially with South Africa, and I need to share that I just was up in Alaska teaching,
Mm-hmm.
which is on the other end of the extreme. I was there teaching and then came from there, went home for a little while to rest, and came down here. South Africa is what I would call a miracle country.
Okay.
With Nelson Mandela and everything that happened here in South Africa, the people here, the land, it could have been a bloodbath. It could have been a horrendous situation. And look what's happening. And my understanding from the people I know, the spiritual people around the planet, they're saying South Africa can be one of the crown jewels of the planet and lead the planet forward. And for me, I go where I'm needed.
Mm-hmm.
I go where Spirit guides me. And I'm doing my best to be here, get my visa extended. I would love to meet more with the different tribes. I would love to meet with the indigenous people. I would love to connect with the animals and the land more. And so far, and I've only been here like 4 weeks so far, I've connected with people that are working with education for children, spiritual education, Rudolf Steiner. I've been meeting, talking to people in the medical field about working with them and creating something. I've been talking to people, AA and NA, helping those groups. So my commitment is to see where the interest is to take my background, my talents, and I've worked on the board of directors of a number of organizations. So where are the talents and abilities going to come together? How can we, I want to use the word trigger each other, but that's not the right word. How can I be a catalyst to help them to get to another level, either with guidance that comes through background or some kind of interconnection? How can we create something to help the planet, to help South Africa, to help the people here, to help the economy, to reach another level?
Now, I've been saying to a lot of people, like, I've been running away from South Africa a lot because it's just a horrible place. But the one thing that I can tell people, with the ups and downs of South Africa, it's not a bad place to be. It's one of the best. So I'm very grateful that you came to visit us and that you met with me. Thank you very much. And let's just show your book again. I'm going to put your link down below. So when we upload the video, it will be down below there. We'll link in your videos. Put some clearer pictures about it. Look how beautiful it is. I love this cover also.
Thank you.
I love this cover. And you said when you put in the second name, or your second name, Michael Edward Bradford.
The energy shifted.
Shifted.
Friends that I have, I wasn't aware of it, but one of my friends called me and said, Michael, it went to a whole nother level. So I surrender. I go and do my best to meet the people, to show up, and to see what transpires.
Well, thank you very much.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching. See you all next time.